Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the CHALL, and today Chall chats. Brighton and Hove Albion 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. It's a goalless draw, but it didn't feel like that. Well, in some ways it did, in some ways it didn't. But one particular reason why it was because there was a leniency in shooting. But we're going to go into all of that in this video. We're going to try and keep it around the 10-minute mark tonight, just to keep it not short and sweet. Still have quite a lot of detail in there, but yeah, I don't want to draw along for 20 minutes, etc. with this match. But 0-0 in the Premier League tonight. I think probably Wolves will be happier with the point than Brighton. I think Brighton are going to have a lot more questions and answers than Wolves. I think Wolves have come a long way since the reverse fixture of this. And we'll get into all of that in this video. But before we get started, make sure you go and check out all the other content today from Torquay United, Shrewsbury Town, Doncaster Rovers. We've got plenty more content coming up this week as well. We've got the Royal Rumble this week. So preview for that should be coming on the 26th. I'm probably just going to preview the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches in two separate videos. And probably the undisputed championship fatal four-way match. So I'm going to probably preview the three main matches in this pay-per-view. And then I might do an extra video just to sort of look into everything else. But I'm going to sort of preview the three main matches in separate videos for the 26th. So stay tuned for that. Also, guys, make sure you do check out all the other content coming up as well, because on the 25th of January, episode 4 of the Chall Chats podcast with former Doncaster Rovers chairman John Ryan will be online at 2 p.m. on the 25th of January on the Thursday, so stay tuned for that one. And for now, guys, we're on the road to 3,000 subscribers and 500,000 views. We're getting closer and closer. It is getting there. Please, 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 let's get there as soon as possible. And for now, guys, let's go into this video. It's Brighton and Hove Albion 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0 in tonight's Premier League game. Go and check out all the old videos as well, because the video we've been uploading over the last week or so has been fantastic. But let's get straight into this then. So, yeah, this was a weird one. This was a weird one. It's a goalless draw, but I think with the amount of creativity and build-up play from both teams today, and the counters from Wolves, the build-up play from Brighton, I think if people had their shooting boots on, it could have been 3-3 or 4-4 tonight. But yeah, Wolves were very disciplined. They set up very, very well. They had this kind of trap in the midfield where they can just counter straight from that and have a massive overload extreme counter attack on Brighton and bring themselves forward. Brighton built up the play brilliantly. They played beautiful football. Wolves played great football as well. The thing is about it was with especially Brighton, but Wolves as well, there was a real leniency in the final third. There seemed to be a real breakdown in the final hurdle of the attack. Any attack through Brighton or Wolves, there seems to be a massive breakdown. I think it's two different ways, though, and two different forms of breakdown in the final third, though. I think for Brighton, it felt very much like a leniency to shoot, whereas for Wolves, it was a lack of numbers in the box. When they get set pieces, the crosses sometimes don't beat the first man. They might beat everybody, especially in Wolves' case in the second half when there was that beautiful ball in. No one went up for it. The man in the middle was held well by Brighton, so I can kind of respect that. Man on the front didn't jump. Well, I think kind of jumped for it. Man on the back post, nothing. No one else in the box. So, again, missed opportunity. Brighton, again, real leniency in the attack. And I felt that Brighton had a real lack of wanting to shoot at times. And like I said, I think TNT Sport and other broadcasters are spot on. I think De Zerbi is going to have a lot more questions than answers than Gary O'Neill will have questions than answers. I think Gary O'Neill will have a lot more answers than questions, but De Zerbi definitely more questions than answers. I mean, there was some standout players definitely for each side, though. Let's speak about Brighton first of all. I think there's two people in particular that stood out in the midfield. Billy Gilmour, Pascal Gross. They were just both so influential in building their attacks, linking the play, their passing range, their pass completion, everything statistical that you need to make things tick and make things work. I think we're spot on. I think Pascal Gross is one of the most underrated midfielders in the Premier League. I don't think he gets enough credit, in my opinion. I think TNT was spot on. I think every other broadcaster that said it was spot on. I think Pascal Gross does not get enough credit in the bank for me. And I think that's because I think part of it is because it's not one of the big six clubs that people speak about, or the so-called big six that people speak about. But for me, part of it is also that it depends on how you view the statistic. And I think they were absolutely spot on in commentary about this as well. I completely agree with them on this. You look at KDB, for example, who might have an 80+%, whereas Gross has a 90%. But De Bruyne doesn't keep the ball as long as Gross, and he makes a lot more things work. And De Bruyne in the Man City setup, where things just tick for them every single time, it makes De Bruyne look better. But I think for me with Gross, I think he plays it a little bit smarter. It could be just me, but I think that Gross plays it a little bit smarter in the way he completes his passes, the way he ranges his passes, the way he links the play from defense to attack, and the way he performs as part of that midfield circuit, if we will, to make things work. Billy Gilmour, again, he underrates me every single time. He's honestly a remarkable player who's really had a great season so far for Brighton. This is only, I think, Brighton's second clean sheet of the season, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Their first clean sheet was quite a while back. So yeah, and they haven't lost. I don't think they've lost at home since August. So that's pretty special as well to keep that going from a Brighton perspective. But for Brighton, it was a real leniency in shooting. I think Joao Pedro had a frustrating night. He was getting in right areas sometimes, but he just couldn't get that final touch, that final shot. Again, moment in the second half where he did this excellent turn, space to shoot, and just spent that extra second just holding on to it. And then he lost the space, and then Wolves just gathered like a pack of wolves and just kind of shielded that space and forced him sideways and behind and, not the direction he wanted to go in. From a Wolves perspective, like I said, they formed an excellent trap in the midfield. They caught it very, very well. They countered well. I think Pedro Neto was the man of the moment. I think he was the man of the match for me for both teams. I think Neto did outstanding in that game. To get 87 minutes back from injury and to put in the performance that he did, despite not having the goal to show for it, he was so close. He was so close. And I could see it in the last couple of minutes before he went off for the debutant kid, who, by the way, congratulations. He was starting to lose steam, and you could see it wasn't going to last much longer. And for me, that could have been a very dangerous situation for Wolves to be in, because I think if he'd have stayed on for the remaining 90 minutes, he'd have kept running out of steam, and Brighton would have found a weakness to attack for the remainder of that game, and that could have led to a potential goal. So Gary O'Neill played it tactically, substitutions-wise, very, very smartly. And for me, I think he had a really keen eye on Pedro Neto and how long he was actually going to last. I don't think he was going to last 90 minutes, though. So I think Gary O'Neill played it quite smart. But O'Neill did exactly what his team will have trained to do this week for that game. Set the trap in the midfield, counter smartly, counter with the overload on the extreme, and literally wait for Brighton to make mistakes. And there were a few times where Brighton made those odd kind of pass mistakes or were put under pressure quite a few times from Wolves. They were putting into areas where they were under pressure at times. Like I said, Brighton played beautiful football. Wolves played great football, but the lack of shooting killed both teams' final third action tonight. And it finished 0-0. Like I said, Pedro Neto is my man of the match. I think Patrick Tyrant, who's a Spurs fan, shout out to you, mate. You called it on Twitter as well during the game and during the second half, especially. That guy Pedro Neto is lethal. He is lethal. He might not have scored tonight, but you could see he was on the verge of getting one if he didn't run out of steam. He was lethal, and he just shone like the brightest star tonight. I think Hinshelwood's a very intelligent player, as Shannon Ruth, one of the under-21s coaches or former under-21s coaches, has explained in the past. Very intelligent young player, Jack Hinshelwood. I think he's, 18 years old now? 17, 18 years old? Man, that guy's going to have a bright, bright future. And you know what? This is just a huge credit to Brighton's recruitment. That left-hand side, where Pervin Estupiñán plays. Again, they were talking about this on commentary in the first half. The fact that Cucurella went on to Chelsea and they replaced this guy, I think Brighton got the better of the deal. Cucurella's a fantastic player. And if Cucurella came back to Brighton, no doubt he would flourish under De Zerbi's system, especially with Chelsea's situation at the moment. But for me, I think Estupiñán was the right replacement. And in my opinion, just as good, if probably better player than Cucurella at this very moment. Definitely a better player than Cucurella at this very moment, but definitely in terms of the Brighton Cucurella and Estupiñán at Brighton, I think they're both as good as each other in the Brighton setup. I think that he's better than Cucurella when Cucurella is the Chelsea player. So for me, again, there was some good performances in there. It's not like anyone had a bad night or anything like that. It was just great football from both teams, but just lacked that final third. And I think some of it's due to their own doing, some of it's due to the defensive shapes of each opposition team. So it was a very entertaining open match. It could have gone either way tonight, but the lack of goals kept it 0-0. And as the game wore on, as it wore into added time, I could see it becoming more of a 0-0. So both teams will move on to the FA Cup now. Brighton go away to Sheffield United. Wolves go away to a Black Country derby against West Brom in the FA Cup. It's their first Black Country derby in 2 years. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in both FA Cup games. Of course, FA Cup action returns this weekend. We cannot wait to see what happens this weekend. We've got some great action coming up as well. And yeah, very, very excited for what's coming up this weekend. Of course, Doncaster Rovers Stockport will be online this weekend as well. Obviously, if you've seen the post on social media, you'll notice a different format for the matchday vlogs. Basically, it's going to be pre-match coverage with interviews with fans before the game, historical context for the game, the latest form, the lineup reactions, and then we're going to do a halftime report and a full-time report. No action will be filmed and no reactions filmed during the 90 minutes. It's an odd concept to try out. It's a unique concept for football content. It's basically like watching a match on Sky Sports, but you don't watch the 45 and the 45. You just see the bits in between, pretty much. So it's a very unique concept. Obviously, it's not going to be the most popular type of matchday reporting, with obviously people wanting to see the action itself. But this is the direction of the channel moving forward in terms of Rovers match days. It's all about giving you the news, the reviews, the interviews, the big details, the analysis, the proper professional deep dive, and showing you guys a new direction and a new era for the channel. So we really hope you appreciate the new concepts and how much prep work has gone into the new concept. Literally, the prep work for Saturday has already started. Literally, the plan is for every Rovers match day, we start the prep work at the start of every week. Literally 5 days before the game, we start the prep work. So 5 days before a Rovers game, we'll start the prep work, and you may see days where we have a Saturday and a Tuesday game, so we'd have to intertwine the prep work with each other alongside filming the other videos as well. Some of you may not realize how much work goes into this channel, how much work goes into the content we produce, and I really do appreciate the support on this, guys. I really, really do. And I'm excited to see what the results are going forward, because we've got a bright, bright future this year. Do not worry about that. But down in Stockport this weekend, we'll try and fit in some FA Cup games every now and then through the television coverage at some point. So hopefully we'll try and get something out there for you guys from FA Cup weekend this week. Obviously, Royal Rumble this weekend as well. So it's a packed weekend on the channel this year. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. And for now, I'm the CHALL. Ta-ra for